Hello and welcome to Tokyo Inklings. My name's CY. You can find me on my website at tokyostationpens.com, on Instagram and TikTok at tokyostationpens, and on Twitter at tokyostationmnh.
And my name is Jacob, and I'm a food fan out on the big internet.
Yeah, and you are a Fude fan out on the big giveaway spheres, I see. Because, you are going places, Jacob. You've reached, 10,000 followers now? Giveaway with Mr. Cypress. So, talk to me a little bit about how that went.
Well, so what happened was that a few weeks ago, or maybe it was months ago, I'm not losing track of time, they sent me a prototype of their new in-house like naginata style grind, and they also sent me a nice like bamboo style pen. And I thought maybe I should do a giveaway of that pen. So I asked them, do you mind if I do a giveaway of the pen that you sent me before? And then they replied and said, we want to do a giveaway, but we want to do a new pen, and we want to give away one of our new 14K Naginata style nibs. And I said, like, are you are you sure? I mean, you don't normally do giveaways with like gold nib pens. It's kind of rare, so I had to double check with them, and yeah, that's what they wanted. I even wrote like a draft of the giveaway post with all the rules and make sure we were completely on the same page, because I didn't want to have any misunderstanding. But yeah, that's really what they wanted to do. So yeah, we did that, and my Instagram feed exploded once that was posted.
Yeah, I mean, you got like, 200 something entries, 250 something entries, assuming that you replied to all the posts. And yeah, that must not have been easy to get through.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? So it depends on how you do the Instagram, how you do the giveaway rules. If you just say, randomly pick a comment, then there are some like websites that can help you with that. But if you have a criteria like you increase your chances by reposting or doing a story post of the giveaway, then there's no, as far as I know, there's no like app or service that can help you draw a winner that takes that into account. So you have to do it yourself, and that is incredibly time consuming. I don't want to do this again.
So no future giveaways from Fudafan?
Future giveaways are possible, but I will change the rules a bit so that I can use one of those standard services. I don't have to create a giant Google spreadsheet myself.
Yeah, please enter your name in this Google form so that it can automatically put your entry.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, you used to be able to do that, but Instagram changed their APIs quite a few years ago. I think 5 years ago now, so that you couldn't access their open API. But you used to be able to.
It's very locked down now. I mean, there are some third-party apps that access the API through alternative means, but I really don't want to give out my credentials to any of those apps, because, as you have also recently, seen, like, Facebook, Instagram, they don't really have any customer service to speak of. If they kick you out, then that's it. I mean, if you lose access to your account for whatever reason it may be, I mean, if they think you don't follow the rules, or you lose your credentials, then your hopes of getting it back are very slim. So better not take any chances.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Well, on my side, it's obviously been 3 weeks since our last podcast. And it's been quite busy. It's another reason why we chose to delay this episode. And honestly, not too much going on in the pen world, but we did have some visitors. Now that Japan is open, it's another reason why I've been so busy. Seems like and we kind of knew this was going to happen, right? But ever since October 11th, people have just been, swarming to come to Japan, and it's kind of wild. Everybody's coming out at the same time, and they're like, "Oh, CY, where should I go? Where should I eat sushi? Where should I blah 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 blah?" And And it's been a challenge to manage everything. But I did have a special visitor from Hong Kong, um, who is also a pen person. I won't name them on the podcast, but we went to hunt for pens in quite an unexpected place, Jacob. He asked me when he was planning to come here. He asked me, "Have you ever been to the Oimachi flea market?" And I said, "No, I have no idea what that is." And he said, "Oh," and he pulls out this 1950s Mont Blanc 146 with like the most broad OB nib I've ever seen on a pen of that era. It's, "Oh, I got this at the flea market last time." I was like, I didn't even know there were old pens to be found at such flea markets. I mean, at least in Japan. So, Jacob, did you know about this flea market thing?
No, you sent me the link to that flea market before because we were planning to go together, right? But in the end, I had to uh, cancel, or rather, I couldn't join. But yeah, I had never heard about it before either. We both more or less, I think, we think, or maybe it's just I think that I know pretty much all there is to know about the pen scene in Japan now. You know all the stores, you know all the events, you know all the clubs. It's a genuine surprise when someone tells you something that you have never heard of before, and this was one of those.
Yeah. So, it is as flea markets go. Some days are great, and some days are empty, and that's just the way it is. We went to the flea market, and this was rather one of those emptier days, I would say. Um, Brian did tell me that there used to be a guy who just sold or he had just like a bag of vintage pens. He got like an Omas and the celluloid 146 there. But um, but I think today or that day we didn't find a lot of stuff, but we still found stuff that I think is interesting enough for the podcast. Um, so there are people who are selling, your standard run of the mill second line Mont Blancs. That was pretty um, common. You had people selling, those long shorts or those second line pocket pens that Japan used to be famous for. But we had one vendor, or rather one specific pen, with I want to say it's like the um, yellow kind of pearlish celluloid, and the body was separated from the end knob. And you've seen this before, right? Like the inkidomes in celluloid.
I think so, and I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, I think so.
Yeah, just like if you look on like Yahoo auctions, you'll see sometimes like these early pre-war or early post-war pens that are inkidome and celluloid. They're usually a bit more colorful, but I feel like if you see a pen in Japan that has a detachable end knob, usually it means that it's inkidome, right?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And what's interesting about this particular pen is that it had like these knurlings, which I hadn't seen before. And so I was talking to this friend, and and I said, "Oh, yeah, Inkidome, seen 100 of these." So I untwist it and I pull it out, and we both give each other this look because this wasn't an Inkidome. um, it was a vintage pump piston filler, so it kind of works like the Con 70, except the button is fully attached and screwable into the body, which was super interesting because neither of us had ever seen this before. So, as you said just now, there are always still surprises that even we get when we're looking through the stuff that we think we've known already. At this new unknown location, this new type of pen that we've never seen before. And That was pretty cool.
I'm trying to picture this flea market because I've been to many flea markets in Japan, and what I'm used to is, the flea markets at in Yoyogi Park where people pull out their big plastic sheets and they sell old clothes and bags and pots and pans. I would not expect to find a Mont Blanc anywhere around there. So this is sounds like a different kind of flea market.
Oh no, it's exactly what you're thinking of. They're it's in like this parking lot, and they pull out their either they have tables or they have mats, and they just pull out. There are a lot of like cameras, a lot of electronics, and then second line Mont Blancs.
Wow. Okay. Yes. Sounds like I need to go have a look one day.
Well, it's early in the morning, so that's usually your time of activity.
That's true. That's true.
So back to this strange pump filler pen. So I'd seen these on older Omas Lucens, um, and it kind of works like a Parker Vacuumatic. Um, but we later went to Eurobox, who have reopened their business hours because for a long time they were closed. And we handed this pen to Fuji-san, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this is like really rare. We don't see this very often at all." So he'd seen it before, which is no surprise to me, um, because he's a lot older than me. But but yeah, like it's just great to find these pens, these rare pens that you didn't even know existed. So I've got to bring it to you and show you whenever our schedules align.
But so would you say that the seller knew what it was and priced it accordingly? Because usually you get the best prices when someone on Medicare or elsewhere is selling something. They have no idea what it is. Like, this is my grandfather's pen. I don't even know what brand it is or if it works, but it's a pen. Right.
Yeah, I paid 1,000 yen for it.
Excellent.
Well, he put it at like 1,500 or something. I said, "Is it 1,000 yen okay?" He's like, "Yeah, whatever."
Some guy.
I did some guy. I mean, the pen wasn't working, so it is what it is.
The parts alone are probably worth a lot more than that. So.
It's worth a lot more to us.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're gonna make a Franken pen out of it eventually.
Maybe I might recreate something like it, but it was very cool. It was very cool. So there we go. I've also freshly come back last week from the dreaded Bungu Joshi.
I can't believe you went back.
I can't believe it either. I can't believe it either. But I think it's good to go just to see, the energy of the young ladies. And yeah, 99%, as the name implies, are younger ladies. And see some of the relatively lower priced items, and how when you buy these lower priced items, you end up spending like a few, like, tens of thousands of yen anyway. Um, for this year, the venue was actually a little bit smaller than last year. Last year had 2 floors. This year is only 1 floor. But I did want to note that a few years ago, I think 2 years ago, do you remember when Bunga Joshi did their kind of Kickstarter thing?
Yes, I remember that.
It seemed like they were very worried that COVID was going to knock them out of business. I think not anymore. Not anymore. Because they're kind of going full steam ahead. And they've got, from what I heard, 2,000 people in attendance per time block. Well, I guess this year they didn't really block into the AM and PM. So that would have been what we would assume would be 4 days, right? So that's 8,000 people. But actually, they were 5 days. So this year they did a special day on Wednesday. So that's 10,000 people in attendance. And not only this, I found it really interesting. Some of the really popular vendors. So I would say probably the most popular is Paraglass, who's kind of interesting because he doesn't show up to the Tonal Limbs events, doesn't show up to the pen shows, but he shows up to Bungajoshi every year, and he makes some pretty cool stuff. Last year he made this unicorn glass pen. This year he made like this coffee inspired glass pen with like a coffee bean inside. I wanted to get that, but he only showed on Wednesday and Thursday, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday was just a complete different vendor. So that was the first year I'd seen them kind of switch out vendors like that. So I couldn't get that, and I don't think I would have been able to anyway because we were like 700th in line or something. It was absolutely crazy. And you've been on the monorail, obviously, right?
Yeah, I mean, my most vivid memory of Bungo Joshi wasn't so much of the event space itself, but rather taking the monorail out to whatever it was, some like giant aircraft hangar out in Tokyo Bay, and then standing there out in a freezing cold in December in a long line, waiting like 2 hours to even get in. That's what I remember the most.
Yeah, ours was only an hour wait, but as I was walking into the queue, I overheard the organizer saying, "Hurry up, hurry up! With every monorail train, we are adding another 200 people to the queue." I didn't. I think the Bunga Joshi days are um, probably the busiest that the monorail will ever be in that single year. And the event is, I mean, it's not like this popular hangout spot either, right? It's this it's like a logistics center.
Exactly, exactly. It's like Yamato and Sagawa. They have the giant buildings there where they sort
Yeah.
their packages, right? It's not, you wouldn't go there for any other reason. There's nothing to do there.
Yeah, there's nothing to do. There's like this station udon place, and it's like in this kind of warehousey thing. Last year we were made to stand in the parking lot. This year was a lot better in terms of that. But it was crazy, and when we see this um aggression that normally you don't associate with particularly Japanese ladies, but these people were pushing you and trying to cut in front of you in line. And there was one part of the venue where I couldn't walk from one end of the hall of the walkway to the other, so I just gave up and I just went somewhere else. But I did buy um this new to me Canon instant printer. It's called Inspic, and it's this like little it's this little portable sticker printer, so I can print stickers of photos I shoot with my iPhone. And I thought that was pretty cool. I'm hoping that it helps me with filling some space in my journals. Apparently stickers are a good way to do that.
Yeah, that's really a Bungo Joshi purchase.
Yeah. And I did feel like they were the sellers, Canon, they were judging me a little bit, cuz I'm like the one male for every 100th female, right? And so go over and I'm like, "Yeah, I want to try one of your printers because they said it's free to try." And they asked me, "Oh, which one do you want to try?" I said, I want to try the smallest, cutest one." And they're like, "Oh, really? You want to try this one?" And so we try it. We print something. I'm like, "Okay, I'm happy with it. I'd like to buy it." And they were shocked. They were like, "What? You want to buy this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want to buy this." And they said, "Oh, what color do you want? We have like white, and like champagne pink." I said, "I want the champagne pink one." And they're like, "What? The pink one?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want the champagne pink one. Stop judging me. I want what I want. Get out of here." So there was definitely some judginess going on there. Um, but I also did, because I missed the Ink Numa this year. I believe I either had like COVID or I was in the US, but I missed the Ink Numa.
Mm.
So I was able to get some the Pillar 19 inks that I wasn't able to get I think almost in the past 2 years, because I hadn't gone to the I had never still been to the Ink and Dekonuma Rush.
I can't believe you're still buying ink though. I'm drowning in ink.
Well, I'm buying ink to pass them along to other people. So I suppose this is as good of a time as any to announce that I will be going to the California Pen Show. That's in February. I don't think we talked about this show, but there used to be a different pen show called the LA Pen Show, and this year or next year they're not hosting it. So Frank from Narwhal, I believe, is one of the main organizers of this new California Pen Show. It's the same dates as the previous LA Pen Show. It's quite close to the Los Angeles airport. I will be going, and I will be bringing a new, dare I say, apprentice with me.
Nice. Your business is expanding.
Yeah, now I have to think of ways to pay this apprentice. So please come to see me at the booth.
Excellent.
All right. So that was a long-winded kind of what's going on with us segment. In terms of news, Jacob, you've posted about this already, so I don't know how newsy it is, but a few weeks ago, I want to say even almost like a month ago, I sent you this picture of this press release, and it was a picture of a Pilot 74 section and 3 barrels.
Yeah, so this is the 30th anniversary Custom 74. And it's interesting, as you say, that Pilot always tells its retailers, like sometimes weeks or months in advance, I mean, before they issue any kind of press release on their website or post on social media. But the retailers, they usually talk freely about that, and that's why it's usually good to go to like Itoya and ask them about new releases. So they're gonna tell you because they know things many weeks before anyone else knows, and they have no concerns about telling you that. I guess that's how you got hold of this press release, right?
Yeah, I think some retailer probably leaked it onto the internet, and it might have been some like Chinese forum where I saw it, and I thought, wow, that's very weird and strange, but kind of cool at the same time. So the product, I mean, the details are already on a post on your page, on your Instagram page. So if you haven't seen this post, you got to go check this post out because it's very detailed. But the Pilot 74, or the Pilot Custom 74, excuse me, is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. And to commemorate this, they've decided to release 3 different colored barrels, as well as a specially stamped Pilot Custom 74 nib. And the stamping itself is a special engraving, which from afar I don't think looks too different, but when you look up close, it is really, really cool.
Yeah, the difference is very subtle. But yeah, it's a nice engraving. There are a few things that are interesting about this pen. One is that it comes with 3 barrels, right? So you got 3 translucent barrels. There's blue and turquoise, and I think the third one is called amber. I haven't seen Pilot do anything like this before, so that's an interesting choice. The idea here is that you can pick a barrel that suits your mood for the day. But then the other thing, which I think is really interesting, is that it comes with 3 or 4 different nibs, including the new signature nib that we talked about earlier this year. When I went to Maruzen and pre-ordered mine, I asked him which nib is the most popular one, and they said they are easily the signatures, and there's no comparison. Everyone is pre-ordering the signature nib.
Which is so interesting because I went to Maruzen last night after going around like Itoya and everywhere sold out, and they had still a few more sets left of the signatures. I snapped up one of those for myself as well.
It was interesting, I mean, how they announced or how they started selling this, because the launch date was December 1st. I went to Maruzen in Nihonbashi about 1 week earlier. So late November. So I asked them, do you take pre-orders for the 30th anniversary Custom 74? And they had no idea what I was talking about. I showed them because at that time it was already on Pilot's website, the press release. I showed them that, and they had no idea what I was talking about. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to go to Marunouchi anyway, so let me just stop by the other Maruzen and see. And at the other Maruzen, they had a big signboard saying, we take pre-orders for the 30th anniversary Custom 74.
Oh, that's great. That's so Japanese.
So, yeah, it is. So I went there and I pre-ordered it. And then like 3 or 4 days before the actual release date, they called me and said, yeah, we have them in stock now. You can come pick it up.
That's so Japanese. I mean, before we talk about what we think about the releases, let me also introduce what these little barrels mean, because they've attached a meaning to each of the different barrels. So the amber one means the past, or it's supposed to represent the past. The cobalt blue is supposed to represent the present, and then the turquoise green is supposed to represent the future, which I can kind of see that, when we consider like older vintagey things, even like pens, right? A lot of like, kind of this amber, this yellow tint to it, which I think is kind of cool. I don't really understand why cobalt blue is present and turquoise green is future, but there is that, and then they have a limited edition anniversary blue that they're including in this package, which, to be honest, looks exactly like Pilot Blue to me.
Yeah, it does. It might be a little bit more saturated, but yeah, it's nothing too unusual.
Yeah, and it is the only place where you can get a rhodium trim ball clip.
At least in Japan, right? I vaguely recall having seen like rhodium trim Custom 74s outside Japan.
They have them in the Sapporo Daimaru exclusives.
There are some Custom 74 versions sold in the US and elsewhere, but not in Japan. Aren't some of those rhodium, or am I misremembering? Maybe I am.
They're transparent barrels, so they're barrels that look just like these. Yeah, whereas in Japan you can only get the opaque barrels.
Right.
But you have seen a rhodium trim ball clip before, because I rhodium plate them.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. So, what do you think about the pens? Do you think it's a hit? Do you like them? What are your thoughts?
I have a feeling that most people, at least outside Japan, who see this and want to buy them for the signature nearby. I mean, I think the package is interesting. The box is huge. It looks like it comes with like a free cake or something. I don't know why the box is so huge, but it's a little bit. I mean, if it wasn't for the signature nearby, I think it's a little bit expensive for what it is. But clearly it's selling well, so I don't know.
Yeah, even in like Kyoto, which is not a big stationery, or is not a big fountain pen, it's not a big fountain pen city at all. And even in Kyoto, it's all sold out. And I was like, wow, okay, I guess this really is popular, because I hadn't put too much thought into it yet. But yeah, apparently everybody likes these. Do you think this concept of the interchangeable barrel is something that they should keep going with?
Personally, I would rather see them selling not all at a time and not part of the standard lineup, but I would like to see them release versions of the Custom 74 in different limited edition barrels every few months, rather than having all the barrels in one package.
Yeah, I agree, and I think, like, what are you gonna do with the extra barrels? I think that people are gonna buy, like, regular black pens off of like Mercari or something and just stick them on the barrels. But then I realize that's only in Japan, right? If you're in the US, you already can only buy these transparent barrels anyway. So, yeah, I think I definitely want to see more colors in the general lineup. Even if they have to release like one a year. They can release one different color a year, and I would be really happy with that.
I want to see different colors, but I don't want to see like a standard lineup with say 5 colors that are available forever. I want to see limited editions, and I want to see a story behind each edition. This represents, this is the spring edition, and it's the pink as in, the cherry blossoms, and then there's, the skimmy version in autumn, whatever. Like, give me one that I only have a limited time to buy, and give me a story of why this pen looks the way it does.
Yeah, I agree. And I want it to, be in their different models, for example. I think they've done a lot with their capless models, but I think there's much more to be done, and they have such an extensive collection of products, right? So I think there's a lot of potential. I mean, there's more potential in Pilot than any other pen company in Japan right now, because they just have the breadth of products, but somehow Sailor's going wild.
But I would like to see. I mean, I think I mentioned it in last episode. I want to see them do a bit more on the lower end of the spectrum. So, I mean, for example, Pilot Prera is a really nice pen. And the snap cap is so satisfying, and the nib is great. But they haven't done anything to that model in ages, and I think that's the perfect canvas for one of those like limited editions every few months. I think Platinum also has a good canvas in the Procyon, which is actually a really good pen, but the standard colors are kind of boring. But it's just the perfect canvas for a limited edition that would, in the same vein as as Twisby's Eco and Kaweco's Sport. You can release a limited edition every few months with some interesting backstory, and they will only be available for a short period of time, and people would like to collect those because. And again, I mean, some of those Sailor pens in particular, they're getting so expensive that it's not really feasible for a lot of people to collect Pro Gears.
Yeah. What do you think about the Pilot NS?
I haven't even seen that one in a while. I don't even see them often in stores. I think that's a dud. I think it's too expensive for what it is, and I think it's too boring for what it is, because I think it's kind of watered down custom, right? In the same way that Sailor's, what's it called, the Profit Casual or Light or whatever the steel nib version is, that was not an appealing pen because it's just a watered down version of the nice Profit pens, right? That's not what I want. I want something that actually looks different and is, again, like the Prera, again, like the Procyon, that isn't just like a worse version of a gold nib pen.
Yeah, and the NS had the problem where it was priced too closely to the Custom 74. At least back then. If you keep the price of the NS now, and then you're gonna raise the 74 in January, it's gonna be much more appetizing.
Yeah, and again, I don't think the Custom NS is nearly as interesting of a pen as the Prera is or Prera can be. I think the Prera is much better canvas for limited editions.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So that's the Pilot.
There's one more release that was kind of confusing, which is this Neo Classic. We talked about it back in March, right? Pilot came out with this custom Kai, so the custom club exclusive Neo Classic in 3 colors. There was this dark translucent green, brown, and blue, and initially came only with this 2-3 nib options, like fine, medium, and something like that. And then a few months later, they said, actually, we're gonna bring them back in all 15 nibs in November, but you have to pre-order. Like, you have to pre-order by May or June, I believe. So,
well, you didn't have to pre-order, but the stores have to pre-order.
No, because if you went to say like a Hachimondia's or Pentonotes websites, they took pre-orders. You have to go there and say, I want to get a Neo Classic with posting nib, and you have to pay that. You have to pay to Pentonote now, and then you have to wait for half a year.
But what I mean is that the stores got to pre-order things that were not associated with customers too.
Yeah, that may be the case, and that is also the confusion now, because now if you go to Maruzen, they actually have the Neoclassic back in stock with all kinds of nibs. Because what was not clear to me as a consumer was that I didn't have to pre-order, right? What's clear now is I didn't have to pre-order. I could have just waited until November and then go to Maruzen and buy it, right?
Yeah, because what they had done is they said, here, pre-order these pens. And all the retailers had done the same thing, right? They all opened up these pre-orders, but then they themselves ordered a bunch of nibs that they thought would sell well in their stores. So I guess they just treat it as a pre-order and then cancellation. And so now you have a bunch of neoclassics with these, more interesting nibs that are available from places like Nagasawa and Bunga Box and wherever. And it's interesting because each store has a different assortment of what they think will sell. I actually like that. I like that that the retailers are getting like a little bit creative with that, and they're saying, well, we're technically playing in the rules, and that's a very Japanese thing to do. But I'm hoping that maybe they're going to be able to get some sales data that shows Pilot it's worth doing more of these things in, different colors, like more nib sizes in different colors. Hopefully.
But didn't you also believe at first that you, as a consumer, you had to pre-order, and then that was the only chance to get, if you want to say a Neoclassic with posting nib, that you were not going to be able to just go into a store and buy them in November. You had to pre-order by June in order to make sure you got one, right?
Well, that was what the marketing copy said.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I have no reason to say that that's not the case if that's what the marketing copy says, right?
But now it's back. It's even on Pilot's website now. By the way, one more thing about this pen. So I went to Maruzen and I said I want to buy a Neoclassic with coarse nib, and they had no idea what I was talking about.
Yeah, because they don't call it the Neoclassic, right? They call it something else. They call it like the...
Yeah, so I want the custom Kai Gente, custom heritage, and then they knew what I was talking about. They hadn't... Neoclassic was not a name that they had even heard before.
So when you say it was on Pilot's website, what did they call it?
So it's called Custom Kai Gente and then Neoclassic Kara. So it's not a product name, but sort of tagline.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's like they're describing the color. Okay, well, I guess that is what it is, right?
Yeah. But if you look at like Bongbox and Pentanotes and Shosaikan and a bunch of online stores, they call it Neoclassic.
Yeah, that's what I know it as too. So
yeah. Anyway, it is what it is. But it's a nice pen. It's good to see that they brought it back.
All right. Moving on. You received a nice postcard yesterday. Something that you look forward to receive every year, right?
Yeah, so this is the limited edition lineup for Maruzen's spring event to next March. I think previously they didn't announce these pens this early, but last year they did it. I remember we did an episode, I think last December, when we talked about the lineup. So did you get this card as well?
I have not checked my my mailbox, to be honest, because I was actually in Kyoto yesterday, which I think we can talk about a bit later.
Sure.
But I went to Maruzen and I pre-ordered the pens. So yes, I have seen the card.
Yeah, they're a bit inconsistent. I remember last time for the autumn event, I got one of the cards, and then you got the other one. I think it's like they have some load balancing going on there, some distribution. I'm not sure. But anyway, so this year, if you take them one at a time, the one at the top of the list is a custom urushi Edo Zakuro or something like that. And it looks, from the photo, it looks like the normal vermilion one. And when I posted this in my story, a whole bunch of people asked me, isn't this the standard vermilion one? And it's kind of hard to tell from the photo because there's no comparison photo, of course. But from the description, I would say this seems to be like Bengaluru, so like red ochre, probably like darker and more brownish than the standard red one.
So I asked them. I said, "So is this a red custom urushi? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but there are two reds in the custom urushi. I think there's one that's the standard red, and there's one that is the limited edition to, or that might be the 845, but there's a limited edition kind of vermilion color for the Asahi Kamibungia, the Tokyo Quill Pen store. And those were very similar, right? So it confused a lot of people. And then I asked Maruzen, I said, so this is a red custom issue? She's like, yeah. I said, oh, okay. Is it like, how's it different from the standard one? She's like, oh, there's like a little bit of vermilion in it. And so I said, oh, so it's like the in between of the other red one and the standard red one. And she's like, yeah, it is. And then I asked her, I said, so you can tell when you line them up, but you probably can't really tell if you have it in your hands, right? And she said, yeah, if you only have the individual pen, you're probably not really going to notice that much. But if you have all the pens lined up together, then you're going to be able to tell the difference.
I think Maruzen also had a limited edition red 845 before, and that one is slightly darker, slightly more brownish. I suspect this might be the same color, but yeah, if you only see a photo of one of them, it's really hard to tell which one you're looking at.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because usually they alternate between the custom urushi and the vest type urushi. And I think this time they did 2 years in a row with the custom urushi, right?
I wonder why too. I mean, one thought would be that the custom urushi is more popular, but even the vest type, the green vest type, sold out very fast. Unlike the previous one, the pink one, which they had like for 4 years. But
well, they're sold out now because I bought the last one.
Yeah, of course you did.
But yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I'm not sure why, but I'm sure a lot of people will be happy. Although, I mean, as usual, they make it incredibly hard to buy these if you're not actually physically at the event.
Do you think these will be popular given how similar they are to the standard one?
I don't think they will sell out from pre-orders as fast as the green one, but I suspect it will sell out from pre-orders before the event starts, and then once people start seeing photos of this one next to the regular one, they will regret not pre-ordering it.
Okay, so the usual.
Yeah.
I actually also found the Nakaya to be very cool.
So the roll stopper is an owl, is that it?
Yeah, it's a Midori Tamenuri piccolo. And yeah, it's an owl roll stop, which I think it's pretty cute. I think there's a lot of potential with this roll stop, and correct me if I'm wrong, but usually Maruzen doesn't do it in the piccolo shape. They do it in the longer shape, and then they have these like sometimes the roll stop is the finial itself, so it doesn't have that extra cap. So they have like a kind of like a dome on the top. And this time they chose to go with a smaller piccolo, which I think is their best shape.
Yeah, I mean it's a bit more plain than some of the other Maruzen Nakayas we've seen in the past, but yeah, the roll stopper is nice. Another pen here I think is interesting mostly because of the price is the Sailor. Maruzen has had this event exclusive King of Pens for a few years now, and one thing I noticed is that the price hasn't gone up nearly as much as some of the other, like some of the Sailor standard models. I remember it was somewhere in this ballpark last year as well.
Yeah, and I think it's like a green swirly resin one, so they're all handmade as well. It is still really expensive, but when you put it next to the Sailor price increases, you're right. It seems less expensive than than it really is.
Hmm. Yeah, so this seems almost affordable.
Yeah. But they also didn't release a Pro Gear, or they didn't release a new Pro Gear this time, which I think is the first time in a while that they hadn't had this collaboration with Shishikura-san.
Yeah, that was Quay's first comment when she saw my post. You know, isn't there a new Shishikura? She was upset about that. But yeah, this is they're re-releasing the lemon, which is a nice one, and I have no problems with that. But I'm wondering why they're doing that. Do you have any theories on that?
Well, they're not really re-releasing the lemon, because the lemon, you can walk into the store and buy it now. Like, I went in with April from Penguins Creative, and we walked in and bought a pen. So it's not, it wasn't made unavailable again.
But what I mean is that they said it's limited 100, and I was assumed they had less than 100 left from the previous event, so they are just making a few more of these, right?
Oh, so do you think they're making more of the same pen?
Unless they happen to have just 100 left in stock. Sure.
Okay, so if they are reissuing the pen, if they were reissuing the pen, this is not the pen they needed to have reissued. They needed to reissue the Moonlight Cherry Blossom. but if they're I don't know if they're reissuing the pen, Jacob. I don't know. We have to ask. But if they were, I don't like it.
Well, I can understand from my Maruzen's perspective that lemon is probably one of the more significant ones for them. If they can choose, they would maybe pick the lemon. But I wonder if it's like either Shishikura didn't get a chance to design a new one, or Sailor wasn't able to produce a new one, or maybe, as you said, maybe they actually have so many in stock that they want to get rid of them. Hard to say.
Yeah, because if you're reissuing it, you're kind of, I don't know. This isn't the pen that, Sold Out Area was clamoring for more. It's just a pen that, I don't know. I won't say anything more, but yeah, we'll see. Anyway,
there's just one more thing about the Maruzen that I thought was kind of interesting, which is the ink. So I'm not sure if you saw, but Sailor just a few weeks ago, they announced like a second generation of Urameku inks, this chroma shading inks. And the new Urameku inks, they're not advertised as being chroma shading, but they're advertised as drying to a different color. So it looks blue while the ink is wet on the page, and then it dries to a green color, for example. And so that might be like a new trend of some kind. And this Maruzen ink that they are advertising for the spring event has the same feature, right? So they're saying that there is this blue sort of kirin-ish color, or dries to a kirin-ish color, goes from a blue to a more green color. So I wonder if this is a new or an ongoing ink trend, that you want an ink that dries to a different color.
I think it is an ink trend, but aren't all inks like that?
Yeah, but it can be more or less subtle, right? So for example, Pilot has this Hyoro ink that is famously goes from blue to green, and it's pretty big difference as it dries, while other inks just turn a little bit less like vivid, right? So it can be more or less obvious, and maybe now there are selling inks that really dry to a whole different color.
Yeah, well, the Iron Gull inks from Platinum, especially Citrus Black, is very famous for that. And I think if it's like Citrus Black, where you're going from one end of the spectrum to the other, I think that's cool. I think that's interesting. But for the new Uramekus that they announced, and even this new Maruzen one, I'm like, I kind of want to know what my ink is going to look like before I use it. So, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't think it's, I think it's a bit useless, but we'll see. I mean, it is certainly popular. I guess that's why they're releasing these things, right?
Yeah, I agree that, I mean, an iron golem would be even better, but you need kind of a warning label. You need. It's not something you would want to sell to a customer that doesn't really know much about ink, right? This is more of a mass market ink, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose so. I suppose so. Um, I can agree with that. All right. Yeah, Mart and Eric, names that we haven't heard in many years.
What happened? So did they disband?
So let's talk a little bit about who Mart and Eric were. So long time ago, like years and years and years ago, we talked about this Deko Kakuno, and we talked about two different types. One was a kind of urushi or lacquering of kakunos that you could buy, and the second was this lady who was customizing kakunos by kind of, I suppose, creating resin art inside the barrels. So you had these really cute barrels where they had like, fish and like frogs and stuff like that inside the kakuno. And there were, I think there was a period of time like 4 years ago where kind of customizing kakunos was the rage. People made like safety filler kakunos. They made like all sorts of crazy different kakunos, like crescent filler kakunos. And I feel like that's mostly gone. Um, but Eric, who is actually a lady, um, is she was one of the forefront of these Deku Kakunos, and they sold for quite a hefty price, which I think she deserves. Um, and for a while she teamed up with Mart, and Mart is this other crazy guy who was doing plating. He was experimenting with urushi lacquer. He was making like barrels out of like branches that fell in his backyard in like the countryside or something. And he was also an artist. He would draw a lot of like nibs and pens, and together they released several successful collaborations, and they would always show as Eric plus Mart or Mart plus Eric, and they had some iron gall inks that they said they had made themselves, not from Gary, and not from a premium manufacturer, and these were retailed by the likes of um, even like Nagasawa was carrying them. They released at least three Iron Gall inks, which some of them I really really like. They released like a normal regular ink, and then at the beginning of or at the beginning of summer, I don't know if it's summer here yet, but in about May, um, Eric, I believe, wrote that um, Eric and Mart is no more. Ever since that, I haven't really seen Eric post much at all. Actually, um, so her posts 2nd of May, and then August 28th was her last post after that. So she said, as of May 2nd, she has officially uh, finished Eric plus Smart activities, and then she hasn't posted anything ever since then. Whereas Mart was at the Tokyo Pen Show, he showed at the Tokyo Pen Show as well. So,
And Eric's Instagram account is now private.
really, I can still see her, but I was following her already. But I don't know if.
So if you open a browser tab when you're not logged in, you'll see that this account is private.
Ooh, so yeah, I don't know if there's some like spicy thing going on there. I'm not gonna go and dig about this. Just to put it out there. I'm not gonna dig about what's going on, but maybe there was something that prevented them from continuing, something personal, something private. I don't know what's going on, but it is a little bit of a shame to see these like two younger creative people.
Maybe Eric just doesn't have time and anymore. Maybe, who knows, life changes. By the way, I remember back, I think this was in 2018, 2019, like long before it was possible to buy these Deco Kakunos online. I went to the very first Wagner event when she was there, and she showed them off, and then I wrote a blog post about it, and a whole bunch of people on Slack wanted to buy Slack wanted to buy this Deco Kakuno, so I arranged a group buy. I think it was 2018, and I bought a whole bunch of them from Eric, and then I passed it on to various people on Slack. But since then she put up her own online store, and now for a while it was possible to buy them overseas. I think even Bongbox sold this Deco Kakunos from Eric, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's a shame, but it is what it is. It is what it is. All the best for Eric, and hope she comes back one day.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. All right, let's end this with something more of a positive note. Just very, very quickly. I was in Kyoto yesterday. I went to Kyoto to see Uttoko, who was showing right across my booth at Tips, and I traveled to Kyoto to talk with her about potential collaborations, maybe we can work together, and bring some of her stuff out to U.S. pen shows as well. And I think we had a really, really good discussion. I had a good discussion with her, and things are going to move forward. So I think we can expect something. We can expect to see something in the space. But she also took me to a lot of, or she took me to one particular one that she buys from, like a authentic, real kimono fabric maker. So you'll see these like people selling kimono fabrics in Ginza. And they're all like fancy, and they're like super, super expensive. And then in Kyoto they have these houses, and each house I'm guessing contracts with different like manufacturers or makers. And what's really interesting is we have stuff that's like real weaved silver, real weaved gold, real weaved platinum inside the fabric itself. And we all know that metals like silver, for example, silver tarnishes. He says, yeah, it actually does tarnish even within the fabrics to give it a different rustic look as well. So it kind of grows and matures with you as time goes on. And I just thought the whole thing was really, really cool. Definitely newfound appreciation for this kind of stuff. But I think, yeah, we're going to see probably some collaboration items coming out, hopefully in the near future. But when there's more news, I guess this is the announcement of an announcement.
So on her Instagram account, most of the pen, she has this single pen sleeves, but she also, I think maybe this was for Tokyo Pen Show or on Etsy, she had this 3-pen case that looks fantastic. If you can convince her to make more of those, that would be fantastic.
I have no comment on that, but
no comment is what I was hoping
for.
Well,
I did tell her that, and she says she's noticed as well. Single pen sleeves are great; they're fine, but no pen addict walks around with one single pen. So that's what I'll say for that. But yeah, she's very thoughtful in what she makes. She's very thoughtful in the kind of design that she wants to do, and she thinks a lot about what her brand wants to be. She's got a strong idea of where she wants to take her brand image, and I think that's very, very positive. I think the thing that's going to be the challenge both for her and for I is, are we going to be able to produce enough at the right price? And that's going to be difficult.
So about price, I mean, one challenge for you must be shipping rates, right? It's almost not feasible to buy a single like pen case from Japan, because you're going to be paying more for EMS or even e-packets, or especially DHL or whatever, than for the actual product, right? So how is that affecting you?
Yeah, so we did talk about pricing a lot. We talked about pricing a lot. The price that you saw at Tips is not her actual price. These pens will probably, or these cases, these sleeves will probably be at about $100. And after going to speak with the kimono fabric makers, I understand why. There are fabrics where they even have to lacquer the threads, lacquer the fabric before with urushi, before continuing the weave. So it's very meticulous, and the material cost, I mean, is no joke. It's no joke. It was like $100 for like 50 centimeters or 100 centimeters of some of these fabrics. So these pens will be expensive, and she's not able to mass produce these. These are handmade items. So they will be pretty expensive, and I think we can deal with shipping either in the beginning, not shipping, so only selling at shows, and then later when there is an account with one of these larger shippers, we'll be able to do that.
Or maybe this will be a California or SF Pen Show exclusive.
Yes, or I will ship a bunch of them to have them ready to ship from the US directly.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but it was a really interesting conversation with her. I will say that if you're looking for like a nice kimono sleeve for an emperor size pen, she's probably one of the only people who are doing custom sleeves for such a large pen. Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, that was a really good trip. I think I got a lot out of it, and I'm hoping to do a lot more with her, and we're gonna try to solve these production issues.
Sounds good.
All right, that's all from me, man. That's all from me. Anything else you want to add?
No, other than it's time for me to have breakfast.
Yeah, we woke up with like very sparse notes, and somehow we managed to talk for 70 minutes.
Yeah.
So I guess that is the podcast
exactly.
life. All right. Thanks a lot, Jacob. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. Share this as a story, or share this on your social media. Let people know. And with that, we'll see you next time. This has been episode 71. My name is CY. You can find me on my website at tokyostationpens.com, on my Instagram and TikTok at Tokyo Station Pens, and on Twitter at Tokyo Station MNH for however long that site is going to continue to exist.
No Mastodon yet?
Not yet.
No, not yet. Okay. My name is Jacob. I am Fudu fan on, the internet.
All right. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.